fed the hamster? Okay.
Okay. Good evening. The Town of Cromwell Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting of Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. I'm calling to order. I'm Alice Kelly, Chair.
Mike Canada.
Andrew Holt, alternate.
John Comtois, alternate.
Ann Grasso.
Nick Dimitriadis.
Doug Kalinowski.
And we have with us Bruce Driska, our zoning enforcement officer, our planner, Stuart Popper, and Linda Emmy, our clerk, as well as we have our liaison, Julie Argemma. And anybody else from the council? Okay. At this time, I would ask that we seek the alternates, please.
So moved?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anything on the agenda to be changed, Mr. Popper?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to have a motion to accept the agenda as approved,
So moved?
as presented, I should say.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, at this time, anybody here for public comments? It would be anything that's not on the public hearings. You can come and say hello or whatever. If not, we're moving on. Development of Compliance Officer Report, Bruce?
Hi, good evening. Do take one or pass it? Yep. If you have any questions about the spreadsheet that's in your packet, I'd be glad to answer them. In the meantime, being distributed right now is an update memo for you. And once it makes its way around to the end of the group, I will begin recapping it for you. So this is an update of not only enforcement, but some development, just to give you an idea of what's going on.
Thank you
Taking a
very
look-
much for this.
I like this. Yeah.
I like this very much, Bruce.
Oh, thank you.
that you're bringing up.
Under enforcement, just to give you an update, 134 Coles Road has been receiving blight fines, which are set at $100 a day. And that's issued for miscellaneous junk in the yard resulting from a complaint that was received by the town of Cromwell. There were mattresses and box springs on the side of the shed facing the neighbors in the street, an engine block in a crate in the front driveway, an inoperable, unregistered vehicle in the front driveway.
So how much in fines are accumulated to date?
It's probably about a week and a half. I have in the files, but
Oh, okay.
about a week and a half. But the good news is, from a corrective action standpoint, the new property owner has been taking some action and is slowly addressing it.
Okay, great.
The next issue is 26 West Street Terrace, which was a wetlands violation, which recently has been resolved by the Wetlands Commission. They have issued a permit and required the person that put the fill on the property, which is approximately 1,025 cubic yards of material, to remove it from a filled-in, dried-up pond, which was still considered wetlands. That has been resolved, and the fill is still on the property, for which he needs planning and zoning approval. He's also coming to get additional approval to put approximately 3 inches of topsoil over the inferior clay material that's been spread out, so he can grow grass, because he does have, I believe, 7¼ acres, and he has some farm-type animals over there, so he needs grass. So that, we have that application that will be, I believe, addressed tonight to be accepted. The next item is 9 Winchester Way, another filling violation, not a wetlands violation. That application will be coming before you. Just to quickly recap that, that is a filling on the property in excess of what the regulations allow for, and encroaching over their rear property line on the town of Cromwell's property, and knocking down trees and throwing them onto the town of Cromwell's property. They weren't aware of where the prop line was, apparently. So that will be addressed when it comes before you as a special permit, and I'll have my comments for that one as well. The middle school project is coming along nicely, but unfortunately they've sacrificed their good housekeeping with erosion and sedimentation control being compromised and tracking mud out onto the roadway, which the public uses. So there's been mud and dust, and it really isn't quite harmonious with the public when they're walking dogs or jogging or pushing baby carriages through that. So They have received 4 different fines, which are $150.
Okay.
The next item is 48 Berlin Road, the old Friendlies and now AutoZone. If you remember, you spent an enormous amount of time with that applicant, making sure that you were satisfied with its prominence on that location, that there would be more than adequate landscaping, and they've been very negligent of the landscaping responsibilities. Some of the weeds are have been as high as some of the plants that are over there. I started a dialogue with them last year, and after the dormant season in the winter, we started back up in April, and we haven't really gotten anywhere, so I did issue the cease and desist and told them that in 10 days after that expires, that they will be fined for that. The fines will be a lot cheaper than hiring another landscaper to take care of it. So, they wanna cooperate, so I think that, you know, from a corrective action standpoint, we will have compliance there as well. Palmer Circle, I think I brought it up at the last meeting or the meeting before about the advertised Airbnb trailer, which is no longer advertised, and we have cooperation from the property owner. The trailer is on the property and complies with our zoning regulations for storage of a trailer, so right now there is no violation. There's a trailer there, it's not being used, so I think they're trying to figure out what they can do as far as making the building official happy by being code compliant to try to use it as an accessory dwelling unit, which they might be able to do, but that remains to be seen with code compliance from building. And the last item on that list is 101 South Street, which is another fine that was issued after repeated notices of violations and using the enforcement continuum up to a cease and desist and not getting any result for the junk that's there. Numerous complaints on that property as well.
And what is the status of the junk?
Junk is still there.
And so
The fine was just recently issued, the cease and desist had been issued, was not appealed to the zoning board of appeals, and we still don't have satisfactory compliance with the cleanup there, but.
okay. So what's the next step if you don't get satisfaction?
Oh, the fines will be daily until we have corrective action, and at some point, our department will discuss how much is enough before we take it to court.
Okay, thank you.
There'll be a civil action, you know, injunctive relief for violating our regulations, which would be very easy to prove. Development update, Popeyes, working on doing the footings today. Michael Kanata might be very happy to hear that.
Love that chicken at Popeyes.
As you look at it, they carved a hole in the ground for the footprint of the building. They're leaving the bituminous surface where it is until they get all of the building lulls done, so they don't track mud all over. So they're gonna be working on a hardscape while they're,
That's good.
yeah, it's smart.
That's actually
And then,
smart.
Right.
then when they're done with that, they'll rip off the remaining bituminous, and then
Yep.
they'll start.
I thought in the bituminous, I thought I saw like MC parking place already with, they
Yeah,
already
could
put
be.
that sign in.
Could be.
Could be for you.
The next item, I already told you that the middle school is nearing completion. I was told by one of the project managers, or project people there, that they'll be asking for a CO on that phase of the project very soon. So if you go over there, the landscape is being planted at a maddening pace. They're just digging and putting in these enormous, beautiful trees and shrubs, and nice fence that's going up by the outdoor learning center area. Looks really, really nice. If you haven't taken a ride by there, try it, take a look at it. And the last item is Kirby Road is that road where Dunkin' Donuts is off of Berlin Road, and it backs up to the Walmart.
Yes.
And at the very end, before you get to the cul-de-sac, is our two properties, 25 and 35 Kirby Road. And a previous tenant, a tree service person, has, as you can see, 16,000 cubic yards, it's estimated, of trees and logs that are there. So the property owner has hired a contractor to come in and to chip it on site and truck it off site. And that will then be a vacant lot that might be developable at some point. Any questions on any of these?
No, just, I see that the Red Lion, they're all encased now. So is that gonna start? That must be gonna start very soon, Stuart?
Mr. Popper will give you his
Oh,
recap
okay.
when we get to
Sorry.
that, but yes, there's for those that don't know what Ms. Kelly is talking about, there's a construction safety chain link fence with privacy screening across the whole frontage. So when you drive by, you don't have to look at that, and it also has blocked access from the in and out that was there, so, vehicles cannot
I
access
think that
it.
just went up within the last few days, week maybe,
Yeah, I think about a week ago.
Yep.
right?
Any other questions?
Not for, oh,
Hi, Ann.
anybody here? Yes?
Today I was on West Street at the entrance into Route 9, between the Gulf Station and Route 9.
The mattress on the
Yeah.
guardrail?
Yes.
Yeah, we called that into DOT yesterday.
Thank
We're
you.
waiting for DOT, that's a state road, and it's their jurisdiction.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anybody else for, okay, Mr. Popper?
So first of all, I want to commend Mr. Driska for all his efforts in regards to enforcement. We're a small town and things get seen a lot, and Bruce is doing a real good job with trying to clean things up, so we're very happy about that. So I'd like to commend Mr. Driska for that. Bruce mentioned a couple of development updates. Obviously, we have the Middlesex office building, Middlesex Hospital office building is underway. They're in the process of doing their landscaping, and they're moving along, so hopefully we'll see them occupied in the fall. So that's very exciting. So we'll have Middlesex Hospital will finally be in Cromwell. So that's good news. We're having conversations on a couple of properties that we expected to close earlier in the year, but they haven't closed, so hopefully we'll be able to make some announcements. The work up at 55 Sabethy on the old office building where the Connecticut Water Company is, they continue their efforts in renovating that space, so that's moving along. They've got their fence up, they've got equipment in back, so they're moving along on that. I don't know if there's any questions anybody has. We have not heard about two grants that we submitted, which we were supposed to hear about a long time ago. There was a state steep grant that we applied for the drainage on Cedar Road, and that was supposed to be announced April 3rd, and there have been no announcements. And we're also waiting for feedback on an Urban Act grant where we did for the sidewalk safety, installing all the handicap accessible curbs. And we haven't heard anything about that either. So those are two outstanding grants that we're waiting to see if we get any feedback. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about anything going on.
No, just about, what about how things are going with the Red Lion now that they put up?
They put the construction fencing up. I don't expect to see any activity anytime soon. They're still negotiating with the state in regards to the $3 million grant. So unfortunately, I can't tell you that the building is going to be demolished this summer.
Oh.
So
Is there a hiccup with the grant, or I thought it was,
no, it's not a hiccup with the grant. It's between the developer and the grant, and the negotiation for the amount of the grant, you know, and the stipulations that large amount of money carries in regards to doing state work. Obviously, you're getting $3 million from the state of Connecticut. It's going to require certain various wage laws that have to be met and require Davis-Bacon, et cetera, et cetera. So there's some ongoing conversations regarding that. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, we'll see some activity this summer, but I'm getting a little leery that we won't at this point.
And then also, what about that store, that grocery store? Is it still gonna go in on,
Oh, yeah, they're working on it.
oh, because the sign went down.
Oh. No, I mean,
And they
she's
put
in here
up
getting
paper
building
on the
permits.
windows.
Yeah, I mean, she's in here working.
Oh,
Maybe they took the sign down, it was in the way or something, I don't know, but no.
yeah,
they're-
they just had a thing up there, it's coming, and when it went down and they put up paper in the windows, I went,
Well, I think they put paper in the windows
so
because they're
nobody could
inside
see.
working.
Right,
So they're working with, at this point in time, they're kind of done with us. They're working with the building department. You know, they had basically a grocery store architect that designed the aisles and the layouts and where everything's
Oh,
gonna
okay.
go. So they're working on installing that equipment.
good.
So they have not indicated that they're not going forward.
Oh, no, I was just, I mean,
Yeah,
you know.
so we're excited to see that.
Okay, anybody else have any questions or anything for Mr. Popper? Okay,
And we can talk about, I see the email, we can talk about it at the end of the meeting in regards to the housing bill. Everybody got a copy of that. I also have an article that I want to distribute at that point. This is from the Connecticut Mirror, which is quite a lengthy article about the bill. I made copies for everybody.
Thank you.
So it's a little early on our part to do any kind of analysis because it literally just came out. So we're waiting to see some write-ups. We're waiting to see, you know, some information on it before we start to say, because to be honest, we don't know how it's gonna impact the zoning regs, because we haven't seen anything hard in writing, you know? We need to see the specific requirements in writing. I mean, what everybody's seeing are these summary comments about the bill, but we haven't seen the hard text in writing, and nobody's had the opportunity to really review that. And even if it's available, it's such a short time that there's not enough time to really sit here and tell everybody what's going on.
Well, it's really been talked about at the House of Representatives, I mean, and it's not good news. It is just not good news.
The governor hasn't signed it yet, so there is still a shot that he may be convinced to not sign it. And from what I pick up here and there, actually I gotta hit this button, there. From what I pick up, the native drums are saying that they're trying to convince him not to sign it and to call the legislature back for a special session to get into this and fix what's broken in it, because there's a lot broken in it. But, again, we'll see what happens.
And Stuart, make sure that you have your mic on, because when I watched it, I couldn't hear you at all.
Oh, okay, it's on.
Okay? And so, and you said that somebody was on tonight, but we didn't change our agenda. They're not on.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, we made a mistake. We need to go back and, we need to just add, you know, just to make it correct, we do have the category of new business, accept and schedule new applications.
Oh, okay.
So you see that, so we
Yes.
should make, I don't know if we technically need to amend the agenda, but we could amend it
Yes, we do.
to say that we will be accepting 2 new applications.
Okay.
And those are applications number 2515 and 2516.
What are they?
2515 is 26 West Street, fill material,
Okay.
and 9 Winchester
Oh.
Way is also special permits for, they're both special permits for fill material.
Okay, special permits, and when,
They would be public hearings, and we can talk about scheduling them when we get to that part. So you want to go back and amend the agenda to include that?
yeah,
Sure, I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to
To
include
add.
acceptance schedule, 2515 and 2516, 2 applications.
Yep. Thank you.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Popper, now we're back to there, and.
So now we're back to new business, acceptance schedule, and new applications. So 2515 is 26 West Street Terrace. This is a special permit to bring in fill material over normal amounts. He actually brought in 1,625 yards. So we'll do that. That'll be a public hearing. I'm suggesting that that be a public hearing at the second meeting in July, because the first meeting is July 1st, which is also kind of the beginning of the July 4th holiday.
Right.
So rather than try to have a meeting when most people could possibly be out of town, I think we'll do it the third Tuesday in July, which I think is the 17th. I was close,
July 15th?
close, you know? I would've won the bet.
Okay, and the same thing for Winchester?
So that's, yeah, so that's 2615, and then application 2616, 9 Winchester Way is a special permit for filling, you know, in the addition of earth material, so that would be a public hearing, and we'd ask that we schedule it that night too, so we'll hear both of those night, that
Okay.
evening.
I'll make a motion to accept and schedule application 2515 and application 2516. They are both public hearings, and they will be heard July 15th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to the, Nicholas, would you read the, public hearing notice, please?
Town of Cromwell Planning and Zoning Commission legal notice. The Town of Cromwell Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025, at 7 p.m. in the Town Council chambers of the Cromwell Town Hall at 41 West Street on the following items. 1. Application number 25-05, application for site plan modification to include a new sign and a shed at the Cromwell Middle School, 9 Captain Main Memorial Drive. The applicant and the owner is the town of Cromwell. Number 2, application number 25-06. Application to amend the zoning map from the current residential R25 zone to the residential R15 zone at True Brookview. The applicant and the owner is Richard Brown. Number 3, application number 25-7. Application to amend the zoning map from the current residential R25 zone to the residential R15 zone at 1 Brookview. The applicant and owner is Daniel Kelly. At this hearing, interested persons may appear and be heard, and written testimony received. The applications are available for public inspection in the Office of Planning and Development. Alice Kelly, chairperson, dated in Cromwell, Connecticut, the 19th day of May, 2025.
Okay, Mr. Popper?
So we have the first application, which is going to be the school board, and they're here, and we're going to change our computer settings so that they can be seen.
Just make an announcement. Excuse yourself for those two.
Yes, I will.
You don't have to leave.
Okay, it's hooked up. Everybody in the public can see the screens.
Rosanna, I don't think that's on. You have to select it.
You have to,
It'll take 5 seconds
Yeah.
after you've turned it on.
it has to warm up.
Good? All right, there we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Rosanna Glynn, I'm the chair for the Cromwell Middle School Building Committee. I have with me Claudio Bazzano, he's the director of operations at Cromwell Middle School.
Excuse
and-
me, I apologize for interrupting you, but did we make a motion to open the public hearing?
Oh, sorry.
I will do that now.
Okay, I'm
Thank you
sorry.
very much.
That's all.
I'll make a motion to open
Thank
the
you.
public hearing for application 2505.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
There you
Okay.
go.
And then also with me, we have Ron Ricky from Arcadis. He's our program management firm. So there are 2 site changes that we're proposing. One is the storage building up in the northern end of the property, and then the second one is a proposed sign. I'm not sure if this information is relevant or not, but the storage building is a town project. It's separate from the building project, and the proposed sign is part of the building project. I don't know if it makes a difference, but I'm just letting y'all know. Those are approximate locations on this map. Next slide. The sign at the
You're
bottom,
gonna
yep.
talk, you gotta go to the mic.
Yep,
Can't hear you.
no, you're just pointing out the sign at the bottom is the other, where the arrows are pointing to. So that proposed sign is in the same location where the current sign is.
Can you really move in on where you're talking about on these so that if anybody is at home, because you
Can you
can, I
s-
think that you can enlarge that?
I don't think you can.
Oh,
You'd have to go into that view and then zoom in, Ron, here.
Yeah, slide it. Slide it.
right.
Yeah, but now we lost it. Let's see if we can get it. There it is.
Can bring it up more even.
Okay, so that's the entrance off of Gear Street you're looking at. So if you're going into the entrance, you're facing the new school. On the right is where the current sign is, and that location that it's pointing to. So the new sign would go pretty much exactly where the current sign is. The current sign is about, I think, a foot more narrow than the proposed new sign. So the proposed new sign's about a foot wider than what's in there right today. Any questions about the location of this sign?
Do you have any detailed pictures of the sign that you
Yep.
could show us?
Next slide, we'll have that. I'm just gonna go through the locations first while we have it up. So the shed is going to be on the northern side of the school, right next to the softball field. There's a spot right there. along the access road. That's the shed location.
Do you have an architectural elevation of the shed, what it's gonna look like?
Yep, we have that in one of the slides. So if you zoom back in, Ron. Yep, just go to the center one, there you go, and just scroll down to next slide. Well, let's go slide by slide. We'll start with the sign. And just go to presentation mode, please. Or just zoom into to the dimensions of the sign so that they can see. Scroll over. So the intent of the sign was, or design intent of the sign was to mimic what the fire stations have today. So they basically have the same format with the name on top and then the digital signage below it. So it's very similar to what already exists in town. The dimensions are within the town requirements for digital signage, so it's under I think it's 49 square feet, it's under that. Can't read from here. It's, I think, 5 feet wide, is that right? 3 by 5. And here's more details.
Yeah, it's a 6 megapixel screen.
You need to be on the mic, please.
Be on mic, so.
Sorry about that. Current sign.
And could you please give your name for?
Ronald Ricky with Arcadis.
Okay, that's for the people at
Okay.
home watching too.
So, the sign itself is 3 by 5, that's the electronic billboard. It's a 6 megapixel display that gives you the resolution, which is a pretty good resolution, especially if you're walking by. You know, it's not like the resolution that would be up on a highway billboard. This sign that we're looking at is also a current technology, so it will be able to be remotely controlled via cellular, and the school will be able to do their displays for their events. But in the event of, say, an Amber Alert or Silver Alert, an emergency in town, they could also display the messages there, giving the folks messages too. So the sign would be erected by a certified sign company. They'd be getting the building permits, the electrical permits, etc. So
I will add that the sign would only be used for words, so there'll be no images, no flashing pictures or anything like that. It'll just be like it's depicted here, messaging for only messaging.
And Roseanne, who's gonna have charge of putting all the events on the sign? Who's in charge of that?
It'd be the administration, school administration. They'll have access. It's just a website. They go in and they put their messaging
Oh,
in.
okay, I didn't know.
Is that gonna be on all night? Or is it
I
gonna be
I think they can probably put a cycle on it
okay,
and turn it off.
that's what I figured, cause I know the firehouse one is, I don't know what time it goes off, but
It does go off. I've always seen it on, so I don't know.
I'm guessing.
Is, adjacent to the baseball fields where there's the new lights there. So there is definitely lightage in that area as it exists today, but at nighttime I do believe they can turn it off. They have light sensor to dim display at dusk, accurate temperature from weather.com, a bunch of technical stuff that it's capable of doing.
Right.
but they can, with the sign, it is programmable, so that they can, if there's one or more messages that they wanted to scroll during the day, to swap out. I'm sure that with that, you could, if you had an ordinance 10 o'clock, 10 to 6 or something like that, they could do that kind of programming.
Anybody else have any questions?
To clarify, you're willing to shut it off at some point in time? Is it residential based?
faces the, Wiss soccer fields. I don't think you could see it. The closest neighbor would be, well, there's one over the hill, so they're not gonna see it. And then the one, kitty corner to the baseball fields, I think they'd be too far to really see it. Yeah.
And I know, talking with the sign company, that, you know, if it were too bright, you can dim it, or you can change the background, you know, to a different, you know, to say a gray, a dark gray, or, you know, whatever, so there's.
You got your,
That has the automatic on
you
it.
got your thing on?
I know you said it was dimmable at dusk, so. I
Yes.
understand. Okay, thank you. I'm
Okay,
sure
thank
we'll
you.
work together.
Anybody else have any questions regarding the sign?
And Bruce, did you say, I'm sorry, it met all the requirements, correct? Mr. Driscoll, I'm sorry. It met all our sign requirements, so I don't have to go and read?
Correct, yes.
And moving on to the next one, might as well do both of them
Do you wanna
together.
scroll to next?
One at a time.
Yeah, hold on, I got a couple of
Oh,
questions.
okay. Michael has a couple of questions, no, on the sign.
On the sign. Yeah, on the sign. So, what I'm thinking is, before we close the public hearing, which is gonna not be this meeting, what I'm thinking is we wanna discuss some conditions. Conditions might be in the nature of hours of operation. I'll let you guys figure out what works for you and present it to us at the next meeting.
Okay.
The other thing I would comment on is no, you said scrolling, but scrolling's a bad word.
Yeah, it doesn't scroll.
It-
It will,
so-
it may alternate messages, but at a very slow.
But not a rotational scrolling, okay,
there's no
so,
motion on the
so I would say probably no scrolling would be a condition, with a fixed message. And the other thing to consider, and I'd like you to comment on it, either tonight or the next meeting. This is sitting at a three-way intersection.
Yep.
The comments that were made to me by other people, quite honestly, and in my mind as well, is at a three-way intersection, coming from the west to east, you're passing the park entrance, and you've got the Little League field on your left-hand side and the entrance on your left-hand side.
Yep.
Coming from the east to west, you're basically coming over the top of a blind hill.
Yep.
And coming from the north to south out of the school.
Yep.
Little League fields on your right, substantial traffic, ball fields across the street. And what I'm concerned is distracted driving, distracted drivers, looking at a sign, trying to read a sign, not being fully cognizant of a kid crossing the road. So I'd like to hear from you, and I don't honestly remember, I'd like to hear what the traffic controls are at that intersection.
So it's a three-way stop sign, so people have to come to a stop.
Are
Coming
there
east-
crosswalks?
There are crosswalks.
There are gonna be crosswalks, okay?
From going east to west, there are two signs, warning you that there's a stop sign coming in.
Okay,
So there's two signs saying stop sign ahead, new sign. I think it says new sign, and then the stop sign. There are crosswalks. The lettering, because of the pixelation, we can have big letters. So people don't have to strain their eyes to actually see what's on the sign. And because it's a stop sign, people are coming to a complete stop, and more normal
Okay.
people will stop, read if they wanna read, and then move on. Unlike the fire station where you're driving by it and you're trying to read it as you're driving by, that's probably more hazardous than people coming to full stops.
the only other question I would have would be, with regard to the changing messages, set us up with some type of information as to how long each message is gonna present before it switches, so that it's not so rapid that people are having a hard time, and
Yeah.
again, distracted driving
don't
and somebody
think-
getting hurt.
I don't think their intent is to have like message, 30 seconds message, I think the intent is, daytime, here's a message for open house this evening,
The whole day.
right? And then like at night or later on after the event, they may switch over to like tomorrow morning, now you got this going on or whatever, like I'm imagining that's, but I will verify with the administration.
Clarify that and let us know.
Just remember, today they have a static sign, so they have a sign that sits there for weeks.
I know.
So I
I
don't
know.
imagine
It never
that they-
gets updated, by the
Right.
way.
So unless there's like a town emergency or a town messaging that's going to interrupt the school messaging, I can't imagine them changing it often, if at all, during the day.
If in the event that it is going to be changed fairly often,
Yeah.
the question is, how long on your message duration? Is the same message gonna be there for 20 seconds and then flip, or a minute and a half?
I would say no faster than what the fire stations do today.
I don't know what their
It's
duration
about
is.
a minute. But
Okay,
I'll-
so
But I doubt it's even gonna be that, like I said, I think.
where I'm headed is, we're gonna put these conditions
Sure.
on the sign so that
You can put,
everybody knows what the rules are.
sure, I mean, you can put whatever you're comfortable with, I think the school will be fine with it.
I think you need to present it to us after you talk to
Sure.
your people. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Good evening. My name is Claudio Bazzano. I'm Director of Operations for the Cromwell Public Schools. I'm here regarding storage shed to be located on the property of the new middle school. The current middle school does not allow to have gas-powered equipment in the building. The easiest and reasonable expensive solution was to provide a storage shed detached from the building. It'll have minimal power, just electrical for lights. It won't have heat in the building. It's located off the egress path, so it doesn't impede any emergency vehicles on the property. It's being funded by town capital funding, which was approved last month. Any questions?
Yeah, could you, for the benefit of the people in the audience, many of them received the butters notices. They were a little concerned that this building actually abutted their property. The reality was that if you're within 100 feet of the school, you get an abutters notice. So maybe you could just show on the map one more time where this building is being located in relationship to the surrounding residential neighborhood. Thank you.
North side, it's about 100+ feet from the road, not even another house.
So at the bottom of the screen, just so you can orientate us, the bottom of the screen is basically Gear Street.
No, the bottom of the screen, yes, the bottom of the screen is Gear Street.
Okay,
Which is south.
right.
So the shed is located on the north side of the school. So the school is between Gear Street and the shed. In the back of the building, on the north side, it's about 150 or so feet from the road, which is it Watrous Road that goes
Yeah,
down?
right.
And on the,
So it's not anywhere near Grove Road, it's not anywhere near the
not
other
near
abutting
any other
residential
properties
Okay.
other than the school itself.
Thank you very much, I appreciate that.
So it looks like it's right on the outside of the retention pond there?
Yes.
Okay.
You can come up. You have to come up to the microphone, please.
Same here. John Steiner, 28 Gear Street. Look, my understanding is the shed's gonna go where construction entrance is.
Where, it's on the
Well-
other side of the building.
So it's closer to the pine trees then.
Pine tree,
I know, you got me totally confused.
Near the
if
retention.
you're looking at the map, the pine trees are over on this side here. Pine trees are over on this side here. The retention pond is right here.
Yeah.
The building is right here.
Yeah.
Your house is over here.
And where is the,
Where's the shed at?
Right here.
You're not gonna see the shed from your house.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be on the other side of the building.
As much as concerned is, excuse me.
And it won't have any lights on the outside.
Thank you. Now, getting back to you talking about the traffic on Gear Street. There's already stop signs there that everybody avoids. Going eastbound, I live at the bottom of Suicide Hill, is what we call it. It gives them a new starting point
to get up to 99. You can hear them rev up and take off. There should be a stop sign at Woodside Street, where the other school driveway is. All going eastbound, and one at West Track to slow these cars down. I seen the ambulances go through the stop sign, slow down to 25 miles an hour, non-flashing lights. I've seen, and that's just when I'm out and about. So, the streets are dangerous. I'm waiting for someone to get killed out there. I really am. So like I say, my biggest concern was the shed, the light. And that light's gonna be off 1st of June, July, right? July 1st. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I just have a question that came up, because I know that, the taxpayers are paying for that shed,
Yes.
and,
Taxpayers paying for the building, everything on that property.
I know, but this is non-refundable through the state.
Correct.
So, when did you, what did you do before the, with the old school, when you had to have equipment? Where was the equipment?
The old school was built with a brick storage shed attached to the building.
Oh, okay. And so when this school came up, no thought gave into anything about where you have to have storage for your equipment? That never came up with anything?
So we had a different program management company back then who wrote the educational specifications for the building, and they overlooked it, to put it simply. And this was before Claudio's time. If we had Claudio back then, he would have caught it, but we didn't have him back then.
I understand that you have somebody that does the educational specs, but also people from town that are on that also could look at what was there before and ask questions, but that's neither here nor there.
That's what we
are
hired
now-
them to do. They were supposed to do inventory and determine all the spaces required.
And so what is going to be in that shed? What kind of equipment?
Gas-powered.
Tractor, snow blower,
Is that like a mobile
lawnmower.
tractor?
Excuse me?
What's the tractor for?
Tractor, snow removal,
Oh,
plus snow blowers for the small sidewalks, the tractors for the larger sidewalk areas. There's a lot of sidewalks, some wide and some thinner ones, plus lawn mowers, leaf blowers, weed whackers, landscaping equipment.
okay, let me ask this question. Has anybody really taken a look at how much equipment you have and whether or not what you're having now is big enough?
Yes, I did.
So in 2 years' time, it won't be that you've outgrown it?
I don't expect the school or the property to get any bigger in 2 years than it is now.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to be sure.
Sure.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, more, so I saw in the notes, from an email dated, May 20th, 2025, and just wanna make sure we're clarifying, I don't know how it impacts our decision today, but there's a note here that it's, from Ronald Ricky to Jennifer Tranquillo and Mr. Bazzano. But if you go down past the good afternoon and the message section, said section, it says, John and Bruce, the LED sign has not received support from the town council at their recent meeting. Currently, the SBC is looking at other options, non-LED at the time. Is that something that concerns us, if they passed it or not, or we're just passing it saying that it's,
We're not passing it, that's
We're
what,
not passing
well,
it.
I'm not saying passing it, but accepting the application?
they're going back to the town council.
Here's the way I'm gonna propose that this plays out tonight. My proposal is that on the LED sign, we've opened the public hearing, and we're gonna leave the public hearing open. And subject to the committee going to the town council at their next meeting and getting approval from the town council, our action after that will be appropriate with either an approval or a denial or a withdrawal of the application, all based on what the town council does.
Understood.
So we're not preempting the town council, we're waiting on their action.
That was my concern.
Yeah, I get it, and we thought about that, and we talked about it, the best way to handle it. So we're waiting on town council action on that. On the shed, I have questions. If you're all done, I do have questions. Okay. So my questions on the shed are, there's a memo from John Egan, the town building inspector, regarding the plywood floor. And he basically gave you some design specs and
Yes.
stats that the floor has to meet. Is that satisfied?
Yes, I'm actually, I'm really started looking into putting a concrete floor rather than a plywood floor, so it'll be above and beyond even what plywood recommendations are.
Okay, that was question one. And you've started to answer question two in that, would you consider making this a concrete floor rather than a plywood floor, because
I would prefer, personally, I would prefer, I've been looking into it, and I prefer a concrete floor because I don't have to worry about anything in the future. It'll last longer, it's more durable.
Yep.
Regarding having equipment in there.
okay.
So, if I can fit it into the budget that we have, and if it's all right with the board here, I would amend that right into a concrete.
And if you can't fit it in the budget, then it goes into the plywood floor?
It goes into the plywood floor that'll meet the recommendations
Meet
of
the building inspector's recommendations.
So at the minimum, it'll meet the building inspector's recommendation. The better side would be if I end up with a concrete.
Concrete.
So if you have a concrete floor, then all you're buying is just the shed to come over and put on a concrete pad?
Well, I have to prep the ground for the concrete, put the pad down, pay for the pad, have the shed delivered, installed on top of the concrete, and then have an electrician run power, minimal power, just a 110 volt and a light overhead, and that's the end of the project.
So is the shed coming without a floor?
If I go with concrete, it can come without a floor, correct?
Yeah, they can be ordered either way.
Yep.
My next question is, at the last town council meeting, there was discussion about the possibility of Public Works grounds taking over the need for this equipment and this shed, and running all that equipment and shed and so on, or equipment out of the existing Public Works grounds building that's part of Waters Park, which is a couple of 100 feet away, if that.
Well,
So where are we with that discussion, and where are we in terms of the need for the shed if Public Works grounds takes over the operation of what this shed and equipment is being used for?
sure. So, two different questions.
Yep.
One, the conversation regarding consolidating some of the work between the town and the Board of Education regarding grounds maintenance. Well, the only part that would be covered under that would be grass removal. All the sidewalks on all the schools are strictly done by the custodians. We have a groundskeeper, and the conversation is centered around the groundskeeper.
Okay.
What we have is, our groundskeeper for the Board of Ed does outside the fences because we have all those fields there. And the town does inside the fences for the fields on all the properties. So the conversation has revolved around, well, rather than having one guy do on the outside and the other guys do on the inside, why don't we consolidate services and take care of all the grass on both sides? Now, the town does the snow removal on the parking lots right now, but no one other than the custodians does all the sidewalks at all the schools. In addition to that, as far as Cromwell Middle School is, that grass on that building is done by the custodians in the building. Our groundskeeper does the outside of the fence at WIS, Edna C, and the high school. The custodians do all the snow removal and all the grass cutting on the Cromwell Middle School property. So that piece will never be consolidated. We have met, I've met with, per the recommendation and the request of our mayor, I've met with Lou Spina, Director of Public Works, and we have sat down and I have showed him what our resources we expend for our groundskeeper, our salaries, our benefits, the equipment that we have, our annual budget, and he has shared that with the mayor. So if in the future, because I've heard that this has come up in the past and has been discussed in the past, and for whatever reason it went away, if in the future it should come to fruition, it wouldn't impact Cromwell Middle School.
So the building, the shed would still be needed,
Yes,
whether services are consolidated or not.
correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? And how much, have you gotten as an estimate for that shed as you're looking at it?
I think it's 12,000, just for the shed itself is 12,000.
Okay, and how much then, and then the rest is for like,
The town has budgeted $31,147, I believe, exactly, for this project.
All right, so,
okay, so,
question for Stuart. In terms of how we run this meeting, is it possible for us to decide on one and not decide on the other, or do we leave the public hearing open for both and decide? How do you want, what do you want to have the mechanics be?
Okay, so our next meeting is 2 weeks from tonight. So that's gonna be the 17th, okay?
Okay,
So it's 2 weeks from tonight. If you were to continue the public hearing for any reason, it would be continued to the 17th.
okay,
It's a little awkward because we have one application with 2 projects on it, basically.
right,
So I,
can't split them.
you know, it would be different if you said to me, we're gonna deny the sign and approve the shed. So we're gonna make a motion to deny the sign and approve the shed. That's one thing. I don't think we can approve part of the application and keep the public hearing open. That doesn't seem to be
okay,
logical to me. So my request to you would be that you continue the public hearing until June 17th.
okay,
And then we have an answer on both these questions.
May I make a comment?
Certainly.
The existing middle school will be demolished, will be shut off, and not accessible after July 1st. We're in June. That equipment has to go somewhere, and there's no place for it to go. This meeting, the request for the shed was actually scheduled for, was it 2 weeks ago? And for whatever reason, it got pushed already for 2 weeks. I can't start ordering the shed until this is approved. And that itself is gonna be 3-4 weeks after I order it. So we're talking about sometime in August. So if you don't accept it as soon as possible, I'm gonna have to go to Tony Salvatore and say, I need you to take my equipment and store it in your sheds until
Go to
this
Tony
is done.
Salvatore. So go to Tony Salvatore.
Okay?
That's right.
yeah,
So we don't really have a choice.
this,
Unless they want to deny both applications or they want to deny both projects or approve both projects. They can't divide it up.
Yeah, so the 17th, we won't come back because the town council's moving their meeting to the 18th. So it'd have to be the meeting after that.
the town
Well-
council is moving their meeting to the 18th?
So June 11th is graduation night, so James mentioned moving the town council meeting out a week because of that. So it'd be after your next,
You're not making this easy, are you?
I wish it were easy, my life would be easier. I wouldn't
Yeah,
think
no, I
smooth
get
breeze
it.
through this project.
When did this come up, 2 weeks ago? Not to us,
This has been in the oven for months.
Oh.
It's just,
but it didn't come before us.
No.
Well, I mean, the other option is this. The other option is, at this point in time, you withdraw the sign. Okay, well, I'm waiting.
I'm sorry.
Here's the other option. The other option is you withdraw the sign,
Okay.
okay? Hear me out. You withdraw the sign, you can resubmit it on the 17th, we'll hear it in July.
But do we have to
Okay,
go through a
finish in
whole other
July.
public hearing
If you-
again?
If you withdraw the sign this evening, then they can act on the shed. So it's up to you.
I mean, I'm just trying to save the town money. Do I have to go back to public
if they
hearing again?
withdraw the sign tonight,
They can
and
resubmit
they
the
resubmit,
application,
do
we
they
can
then
accept
have
it
to
on the
go through,
17th.
do they have to go through the public notice and all that again?
Yeah, because we're starting all over.
New application.
This costs the Board of Ed money every time we do it. It's like, $600, I think, to send the mailings out this one time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
So, I mean, that's our option, or, you know, this commission can decide to hold a special meeting, whatever they wanna do. But they,
With the stipulation
they're not gonna approve both
that
applications
if
this
the
evening.
council approves,
Stu, is it
Maybe I'll
possible?
ask if we can do a special meeting with the town council.
Pardon me?
Do a special meeting with the town council, but that's not gonna resolve your issue, because you gotta get this thing ordered.
no,
Can't do anything until the shed is approved.
they can have,
I mean, do we expect it to, can we order it, the expectation is gonna be?
My past experience with these meetings is, don't do anything until it's approved. I'm sorry. I've
You're
learned my
right.
lessons in the past.
No,
Things
you're
change.
100% right.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. Don't do anything until it's approved.
that's right.
So, I mean, unfortunately,
like a
you'll have to go to
bureaucratic
the town and
conundrum.
ask them to assist you in some space to store the equipment at this point in time. There's really no other alternative.
So just going back with the sign, I believe there were 3 conditions that you asked about scrolling, the timing, the operations, the hours of operations.
Hold on, I made some
Hours of
notes.
operations, how quickly they would change this,
Time, duration, hours of
verbiage.
operation.
So on the sign,
We can't accept until the town accepts.
I'm talking about hours of operation, I'm talking about, no scrolling, and if the messages are gonna change, the duration between the changes in the messages, and, that was it,
Yeah, wait a minute, but he's,
and town council approval.
yes, but you have to give your name, please.
Julia Arjama, Town Council Liaison. The only reason the Town Council didn't approve the sign was the cost. So could you make these conditions, and then if the Town Council still doesn't approve the cost, there's no approval? No.
I'm gonna ask Stuart this question. Could we approve based on town council approval?
You can't really approve something based on a third-party approval. That's
Okay,
the part-
so-
That's the problem.
Okay.
If you wanna say, you're just approving the sign, you don't care how it's funded, then if the sign doesn't get funded, it doesn't get built. You know, that's one option. I mean, we don't usually question people in regards to how they're financing a project.
Right.
So,
Right.
we would have the authority this evening to approve both of them, and if the sign never gets built because it doesn't get funded, that's, you know,
Well, first of all, why is it coming before us if it hasn't been approved? I mean, I don't understand why we are now caught in the middle and that we have somebody coming before us and now they have to have
It
somebody
was a
approve
timing
it.
issue, so when we went to town council, we had every expectation that it would pass, because we were under the impression it would. So the whole, was it 40 days, 30 days period you have to wait for public hearing was in the middle of all that.
I understand that. What I'm saying is that I am not going to be in favor of approving something that has not been approved. I think that that is,
But this is, you guys are approving the planning of the project, you're not approving the funding of the project, right?
We are,
You're
but-
basically saying, yes, what you're trying to do does not
your,
break
but
any rules.
you came before us with a special sign that needed approval because you need town monies
Yeah.
to pay for it.
And I'm trying to save the town money by making
It
this
has
as
nothing,
easy as
I'm talking
possible.
about the
understand.
legalities of it. And we cannot approve something that has not been approved.
You can, according to Stu, you can approve
I
the
don't
design,
think so.
right? And then if it doesn't get funded,
If
it doesn't get funded.
look, all we're approving, if you think about the big picture here,
I am.
all we're approving is the location of a sign, okay?
No, we're not.
Yes, you are.
Well, that's your opinion, okay? So hold off with your opinion for a second.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
So,
I
look at
appreciate
it
it
this
too.
way, you're approving the location of a sign, all right? Now, if this sign was in front of the new Popeyes, and Popeyes decided not to build the sign for whatever reason, then nothing would happen to Popeyes. Now, this is the school building committee, they're proposing to install a new sign at the school, and whether or not, whatever category it's funded under, what happens, I'll just give you an example. What happens if the town council says, no, we don't wanna fund it, but our accountant said you could ask for money here, and they go and ask for money there. So, you know, debating how a town project is funded is not the authority of this commission.
But
But the sign, even though the sign location is essentially the same, the sign has changed from what we approved on their original site.
that's right.
Right.
So the
I'm
way.
not questioning that.
the way I'm
You're
looking
just
at it
asking
is-
me, you're asking me for an angle, and
Yep.
I'm giving you an angle.
Thank you.
The angle is that if the sign doesn't get funded, it doesn't get built, okay?
They have to come back with another application for the sign that they will use.
Pardon me?
Then they would have to come back with another application for the sign they will use.
Unless the sign that they
Yes.
will use is identical to what was previously approved. Is that right?
Yeah.
So then they have two approvals?
Basically.
No, they have an existing sign, the
They
existing sign
have an
is
existing
there.
sign on their site plan, and the existing sign is exactly what they've
Well,
had and have.
If you approve the sign today, and the only difference is that we don't put the screen on, but the size is the same, the footings, location, everything else is the same, the vertical view is the same, would we have to come back? If the only thing different is that you're not putting a monitor on it? I don't think so, right? Because the site plan's the same.
Well, you said the size of the sign is different.
No, no, no,
The sign of the
but
new
what's-
sign is different than the size
No,
of
no,
the
no.
old sign.
What I'm saying is, if you approved it today, the new design today, the digital sign, if you approved it today, and the town council says, we don't want the digital sign, we just want your normal static, no anything sign. The only difference between what you approved today and what the town council approved is we're just removing the monitor off. Everything else is the same from what you approved today. So from a drawing standpoint, you don't see anything different on the drawings.
Let me ask you
Are you
this.
okay with that, Stuart?
So we have purview over electric signs.
Right.
If you weren't installing an electric sign, this would be basically administrative function. But because you're installing an electric sign, you're in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Right.
So if you decide that you're gonna install a non-electronic sign, doesn't get funded, you come back and say, here's the sign, it meets the zoning requirements, all you do is get a zoning permit,
Okay.
okay? But because it's a scrolling electronic sign, that's why you're here.
Okay, so you don't need to come back, is what I'm hearing, if it's just a static,
If you,
plain sign.
if you install a static sign, you're gonna get a zoning permit,
Okay,
that's it,
all right.
You already received approval for a static sign.
so,
Yeah, I imagine we did.
The original.
Yeah, that was on your original site plan.
yeah.
The sign is
Of similar size and nature to the existing.
Yeah, it would just go right back.
I don't think we ever designed the replacement sign, the static replacement sign. We never really designed it. We just went straight to the digital sign. But it'll be the same because we're just gonna basically remove the monitor off of it and keep what's there.
So we can do this in two motions, correct, Stuart? One for the building and one for the sign.
Are you approving both of them?
No, not
Then
necessarily.
you can't.
Oh,
Or if you're gonna say, yeah, if you're gonna say that we're gonna approve the, if you wanna say that we're gonna approve the shed, or we're gonna deny the sign, you can do that. But you can't approve one and leave the other one open, that's what I'm saying.
then I have to, then, I'm just figuring that what we're really doing is we're just trying to make this work legally or illegally. That's how I look at it. Because what we're doing is, we are taking something that does not have town council approval, and they brought it before us. And I think that we cannot, that's how I look at it, that we cannot say okay to something that the town council has said no to. And they're bringing it back.
Technically, let me ask this question, and let me ask the question of the building committee. What was the question that was asked? Was the question asked by the town council, are you funding this? Or are you, you didn't ask them if they're approving the location of the sign.
No.
You asked them if they were funding it.
Right.
And right now, it's been tabled, and.
We didn't even ask them so the mayor had questioned the cost of it. He wanted us to present it to the town
So
council.
what you're seeking from the town council is approving of funding of the sign.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
They don't care about the sign or any of the location. of it.
But they've already denied it.
They denied the digital sign with the assumption that we had a static sign in its
The
place.
assumptions don't matter.
No, it does matter because they did not have all the information that they needed. They were making an incorrect assumption when they voted, which is why
I
I'm
understand.
going back to the town council.
I understand, but in our world, we do not have an approval from the town council. We have a denial. That's what's standing right now in our world.
It sounds like from Stu, it doesn't really matter, because you're just approving the location of the sign, and if the town does not approve the funding, it just dies out.
We're approving
You're approving the location, you're not approving the
and
funding.
an electronic sign.
But you're not approving the funding, you're not
No,
superseding.
funding
it.
doesn't matter to
Right,
us.
exactly. So you're just approving, yes, we're okay with the location, we're okay with your design parameters. And then if the town council in a couple weeks says, no, we're still not gonna fund it, then it just dies out, it just goes away.
But Roseanne, what the town council did is, they denied the type of sign that you wanted. They didn't talk about the location. You're coming before us with electronic sign.
Yeah.
And
What was
which
the
we
actual
don't have
motion
approval.
of the town council? Was the motion to deny funding, or was to deny the installation of the sign?
It was denied funding for electronic sign.
Okay, thank you.
funding for the digital sign in approval of a static sign, but there's no static sign, so their motion didn't make any sense. They
But-
approved something that did not exist, which is why we're going back.
But they denied,
I just wanna do what's legally
so
correct
why
here.
don't we just
And I
table
think
it?
what's legally correct is for us to table the application, and you ask the town council
For
to
a special
schedule a
hearing.
15-minute special meeting,
Which they do all the time.
which I think is doable on their part, before our next meeting.
Yep.
Is that doable, Julie? I'm just trying to do what's legal.
I'll make cupcakes.
You gotta put your judge's hat on. Would you throw us out of court right now or not?
Is there anything illegal to going, I don't understand what the legality part of it is.
If for some reason the town decided not to fund it, and the schools district decided to have a fundraiser for the sign,
Hey.
we'd have to come all the way back here and do this all over again?
Yes.
Why? You're approving location, you're not approving the funding. You just.
Are we talking about an electronic sign?
That's what we're here for, electronics.
No, your theoretical fundraiser is then an electronic sign.
Yes.
They have jurisdiction over electronic signs. You only have approval
That's
for
what
it.
we're here for the electronic sign.
He's saying basically, if the town rejects it, but we still wanted to, let's say you approved it tonight.
Yes.
The town rejects it, we still have the option to go fund, to get a crowdsource funding for it. So it's still not, you know what I mean, like, there's still,
I don't, yeah,
I
don't wanna get in between.
I understand your question.
Planning and
We're
zoning
not-
and the town council.
I
It sounds
don't-
like People have some reservations about what the other committee is doing and what this committee is doing. But as far as planning and zoning, it's location and approval of what's going there. That's the jurisdiction that planning and zoning has.
Correct.
Planning and zoning has no jurisdiction over who funds it, where it's coming from.
That's
And
right.
the town,
Correct.
in the same vein, the town cannot deny a sign because of its location. That's planning and
But they're
zoning's
not, but
responsibility.
they're not denying the sign location. They're denying electronic sign at the cost, which because they wanna. For reasons, because they came before the town council to get money in order to have electronic sign. The town council said no. And so therefore, we are just saying is that is what the town council said was no for the electronic sign to fund it. Otherwise, they could have put the sign up if they had the money, that they didn't have the money in their program. I'm just saying is we should go ahead.
So if the town,
Let's move the
the town council says, yes, you can have an electronic sign, but we're not gonna fund it. Aren't they doing planning and zoning's job?
No.
Aren't they stepping out?
No, you're making apples and oranges.
they're saying we'll fund it, but we don't like the location, or we want you to go bigger, we want you to go to 100 square foot sign, what a huge big billboard, then they're stepping up.
Let's
planning
move
and
ahead.
zoning speak, right?
This is,
So the town council can't
Let's move
say,
it
I
to-
want you to put a billboard on Gear Street. They can't say that, just like you guys can't
Let's-
approve the funding
let's
for
move
said
it
sign.
to
You
table
have your
and move it to
jurisdiction,
our
you have
second
your
meeting, and then they have
boundaries
to
of
deal
what
with
you're
it.
able to approve. They have their boundaries of what they're able to approve. I'm just asking, in your jurisdiction, which is approving the sign location and the size, when you approve it tonight, understand town council still has to approve the funding, which is their own separate thing. I don't understand why timing matters.
I would like
in
to
this
have
situation, 'cause you're voting on separate, unique parts of this equation.
I would like to have a motion that we continue the public hearing to our next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, want to go back and have a discussion about the motion?
All right, go ahead, have a discussion, and let's, what's the discussion, yes?
So I'm tending to agree with the fact that they're coming to us for approval of a location and the design and substance of a sign that's gonna be sitting on the school. I'm looking up because I'm trying to focus, so. For the substance of a sign that's going to be located at the middle school. Regardless of funding of not, ours is not a funding issue. They could go fund it, they could find a private benefactor to fund it, they can fund it any way they choose. But they're coming us to say, this is the sign, this is its dimensions, and this is where we're gonna put it. If it meets all of our zoning criteria, then I would think personally that we could approve that sign as it stands, and whether they get it approved or not, that's their problem on the funding side. If they don't get it approved on the funding side, then it becomes an administrative issue to do a non-electric sign that would go through Mr. Popper's office or through the normal town channels, and then we're done with it. This way we don't hold up the shed, and we just approve a sign, design, and location, not the material dollars for it. Isn't that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's the angle that I indicated.
So that's all I'm suggesting, is before we vote to close, but I don't see where we're stepping on any toes here on the funding side, because that's not what we do. We don't deal with taxes, we don't deal with funding, we deal with, somebody comes to us with a site plan and we say, well, we don't like the elevation, we don't like this or that. That's our purview. But if this was not the town, we don't care where Joe Construction gets his money from, do we? No. He's coming to us saying, this is what I want to build, here's where I want to build it, and all this stuff. We go, okay, we don't say, well, how are you gonna fund this thing? Where are you gonna get the $20,000 surety bond? We don't ask any money questions, right?
I understand that.
That's my point.
Right, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that if they had come to us just with the sign, but they went to the town council for their approval first, before they came before us, and the town council said no, and they said that because they didn't have enough money, that's not to do with the money. Now they're coming before us and having to go back with the idea that they're going back to the town council to get an okay for the funding.
Yeah, but I understand Nick's.
Right.
No, but see, I don't agree with, I don't agree with the
Fine.
preliminary point of your
Then you can
premise.
change whatever you want.
I'm not, we're having a discussion, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're supposed to
Right.
have, is an
Yes.
argument, discussion, back
Yeah.
and forth, right?
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily agree with your premise that the town council, didn't want the electric sign. I think they just said that we're not gonna fund an
I didn't say that
electric
they
sign.
didn't want it, I said
So
they said
again,
no to it.
that's a funding issue. Nick and Mike join up and we wanna build something down the road on a commercial property, and we come to you with a site plan, and we meet all the requirements and all the administrative functions. You don't ask us where we're coming up with the 2 million. Do you ever ask us where we're coming? No, we don't ask anybody where they're coming up with the money. I think it's a similar situation. That's all my
Okay.
point is.
Mhm. And
So we can still move forward ahead with the project with any codicils or conditions that we want with our approvals. But if they don't get the sign, they don't get the sign. They just go out and put up whatever they can, if it's similar.
They can put up, no matter
similar.
what, they can put up what's previously approved.
Correct. If they want something bigger, better, or whatever, they can come back and file another application for $600 for something different. But if we approve it now, again, that's just my 2 cents, so that's.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
Then let's-
I'm inclined to agree with Nick's.
Okay, then I will rescind my,
proposal.
motion, and let's go ahead, because I think that we're just going around in a circle, and I think that what's happening here tonight, yes, Ann, go ahead.
I just, a point of clarification for the record. The digital part of it for the council was not what was the stumbling block. It was strictly the money. So there's no pressure from our approving the sign, which is digital, on the council. They are not gonna hear that, oh, well, P and Z approved this. As long as that's really clear, I think Nick is right. I just wanna make that distinction.
Here, just.
All right,
agree
let
with
me-
Nick
let me-
also.
Let me get, let's
Madam
move
Chair.
the
Let's move-
question.
Let's move the question.
Madam Chair, I have a
Yeah,
question for
go
you.
ahead.
So, if you were to, and I, by the way, I agree with Mr. Demetriadis' premise of his assessment, but if you were trying to approve the sign tonight, keeping the funding out of it, out of the equation, your questions that you spoke for 10 minutes about specific uses, the times, the duration, scrolling, things like that, that wouldn't be addressed if you approved it. So how do you propose to address that?
The way I would propose to address it is to put it on your plate. And-
Make it a condition. No, you make it a condition of
I can-
approval.
I
No, he can make it a condition of approval.
Make it
Yeah, make it a
that
condition of
they
approval.
Satisfy staff
We
with
gotta move
appropriate
this thing.
conditions.
Going on.
You list all the issues, you
And
list the
I'll list
scrolling,
the
hours of
conditions.
operation,
And
duration.
it can be subject to staff level approval,
So let's just have that.
okay?
Conditional
And it-
staff level, we do it all the time.
We do it
always
all
put
the time.
conditions on everything,
Right,
right?
right.
So-
And
I can give you, I can tell you if we're doing scrolling, no motion, from 10 PM to 6 AM.
Can you speak
Right?
louder, please?
Oh, 10 PM to 6 AM.
6 AM,
is when
No,
it's gonna
no.
be off, yeah.
no scrolling, so it would be a static image, at least 2 minutes between. Minimal,
So 2-minute rotation.
and town council has ability to post any urgent messages.
I'm completely fine with that.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so now I'm gonna make another motion.
Right.
Before we do that, I have one more
Sure.
question.
Stuart, I didn't see any comments from the police chief. Did he have a chance to review?
No,
this?
he actually did, I'm sorry, it's not in the package, he said he was all set.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I have a memo from the police chief, excuse me.
Okay.
Just for the record, I wanna be clear.
So
that
Mike,
he-
I just wanted to make sure that we're clear.
Yeah, his
Apologize,
memo is
Mike.
dated May 22nd, 2025 at 3:48 PM. He says that he's all set.
Okay,
Thank you.
Nick?
I just wanna make sure that the point we're making is clear, that we're only approving the conditions that are surrounding the zoning of the sign itself.
Nothing to do with
Nothing to
funding.
do with funding or
Nothing
anything
at
like
all.
that. Okay.
Never do.
Yep.
We don't do those things. So
Nope.
we're just saying, you presented this to us, meets our criteria, we're good.
So here's a motion. So I'm gonna make a motion to approve both items contained within application 2506, which are a new digital sign and a new shed located at Cromwell Middle School, 9 Captain Man Drive, with the following condition. On the sign, that the hours of operation are going to include the sign being shut off between 10 PM and 6 AM, that there will be no scrolling on the sign, that it will be a fixed message which is capable of rotating on a 2-minute rotation, and
Sent him a memo on Friday, I didn't,
who's the lawyer?
George Lawler. George Law.
You should have come up and said the lawyer wasn't here, we would have then moved it.
I asked them what they were here for. I asked them if they were here for the zone change, and they said no.
The attorney was supposed to notify me. We saw that it was on the agenda for tonight, so we just decided to go along.
Hold on for a second, hold on.
Please,
Yeah.
quiet, please.
Excuse me in the back, excuse me in the back, you need to step out.
Did the mic shut off?
Tesla, oh,
Oh, yeah, there it is.
you know what, the battery's running out because it's red.
Oh, that's why.
Read the red.
So
You don't have the money
shut
for a
itself
battery.
off again.
So the attorney was supposed to notify me as to when to attend a meeting. We saw that it was on the agenda for tonight, so we decided to come down and just, we didn't know if it was gonna be tabled, so we just came down to see,
Yeah,
listen.
I'm sorry, I assumed he was gonna be here, I mean, I've had conversations with him, with his office last week. They supplied me with updated information, so I kind of assumed that they were gonna be here, maybe something happened.
Yeah, I wish I knew.
What, can we get your name and address?
Richard Brown, 2 Brookview Road.
Okay, so to make life easy, this is what I suggest we do. I suggest we open the public hearing.
Okay.
Therefore, you won't have to notify the abutters again. You don't have to worry about putting up a new sign. So we open both public hearings, we table them, and we say that we're gonna finish them on June 17th.
I have to recuse myself, Mr. Popper.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so, that being said, per our town planner's recommendation, I'd like to make a motion to first open public hearing for application 2506 and 2507.
Now, we should make two separate
Two
motions.
separate?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to open public hearing for 2506.
Second.
All in favor?
And we just continue it to the next meeting.
And now I'll make a motion to continue application 2506 to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor? And next, I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for application 2507.
Second.
And all in favor? And next, I'll make a motion to continue the application 2507 to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay,
Just tell me when the next meeting, what is the date of the next meeting?
so the next meeting is, I don't know,
June 17th.
Two weeks
June,
from tonight.
2 weeks from tonight, June 17th. Please make sure your lawyer's here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, approval of minutes. April 15th.
We're all here, April 15th.
Is it good?
Alice, are you back now?
Yes, I'm back.
All right, so for the record,
I just returned in 3 seconds.
And
Yes.
I have a procedural question for both Stuart and Bruce. Do we need to read the legal notice for application 25, what is it?
Yeah, we should read it into the record.
He did, he read them both.
We read the whole thing.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay, perfect,
Yeah.
you read
perfect.
2506 and 2507.
yeah,
Okay,
he read all
perfect.
3 of
I
them.
And then
wa- I-
we made motions to open them and continue them, so we're all set.
Yep, okay. All right, next I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 15th.
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
And lastly, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 6th.
I have to recuse myself. He's not here.
So, hold on, that's 1, 2, 3.
I wasn't here, I don't believe, on that one.
So we don't have enough to do that. So,
Okay, so we did the 15th, we
we
can't do
did
the
the
6th.
15th, we can't do the 6th.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. Commissioners' comments, anyone?
Okay.
Motion to,
Oh, hold on, hold on, hold on.
uh-oh,
Trouble to copy this.
I think-
Hold all these trees.
For the commissioner's comments, I just wanted to say, I tried for HB 5002 to give my
thank you, sir.
disapproval of it, but it went through at 2:30 in the morning, 2:13 in the morning.
I also sent emails to Representative Carpino during the representative, section of it. And I sent two emails to Senator Lesser. Our Representative Carpino responded in a timely fashion with lots of information, and she voted against it. Our Senator Lesser never responded at all, and he voted in favor of it.
So I also sent some initial information to both Representative Carpino and Senator Lesser. Representative Carpino did get back to me, and in the preliminary stages, this was before a lot of the voting was going on, but expressed her concern about the bill, so based on Michael's comments, and I know she voted against it. I did send a couple emails to Senator Lesser. He did get back to me, and I was a little disappointed in his comment that he believed that it's intended to increase the housing supply in our state and makes the number of tweaks to address specific roadblocks, but preserves our system of local land use approval. Again, I'm not speaking of ill anyone, but I don't believe that that's in line with what the bill does. It does not. It does not support local land use approval. As a matter of fact, it minimizes it. But I think those are things we should take up as a commission. And may I offer, Madam Chair, through you and through our town team, to maybe draft something from the Planning and Zoning Commission as an official authority, and maybe even get the regional group and join them to put something together in short notice that points out our displeasure with you know, the issues of as of right, the ability to convert properties from commercial to residential without hearings, without any actions through the local zoning commissions. I mean, I think that we have, over the last few years especially, went out of our way to make sure that affordable housing is included in all new construction projects, Red Lion and others. So I feel like we're being penalized for doing the right thing and trying to do the right thing. And we obviously have questions about how stock inventory is used and all that, but I think we're in line with the regional teams too. So I would just ask, as time allows, that we try and pull something together from a both town and regional perspective to get, maybe, now it's time for the governor's office. I don't know, I'm not into the politics of things, but, so, anyways, that's my 2 cents, so thank you.
Right, no, but I also have to say, it's because I did say about how that one thing does not fit everything, that we have made our zoning regulations to be very inclusive in all, and then you have the carrot and the stick, and we are being punished. You know, and also that is taken away from really the traditional way of New England, that, you know, and for the towns that have really punitive zoning regulations not to allow anybody in, they are the ones that should be targeted. Not when you take a look at somebody that has made their regulations to be more to open up housing. And as far as, like, you know, he wrote in about, you know, the cost of housing is the cost of land. And how are you going to address that? And you know, and now they're talking about, the one part that I have that really is troublesome is you can't insist that these, anything under 24 units, they don't have to provide parking. I said, so where are these people gonna park? I mean,
The street.
Are you gonna then widen the
That
streets?
works in downtown New Haven, but it doesn't work in downtown Cromwell.
Oh, I
Sorry.
understand, is what I'm just saying, that's their
So if you have to widen roads, you know, but, you know, it's the, you know, desegregate, they became very powerful. That organization became very, very powerful, and they're the ones that have gotten through a lot of things because they're talking about providing housing. They don't take a look at Connecticut Valley, the buildings up there that could be changed into housing. They're brick buildings, they'd have to be renovated and things like that.
They're more interested in tearing those down. But that's another.
Oh, go ahead, yes, I'm sorry.
No,
I would-
was,
I'd just like to make a comment that I did reach out to Matt Lesser prior to the vote, several days, maybe even 4 or 5 days prior. He did answer. He said at that point that he had not read the bill because they were in budget season, they were looking at other things. I certainly understood that. But one of my major complaints is the way the bill is put forth. It talks, in the heading, it talks about homeless. And when we were doing our regs, we were very careful to make a distinction between affordable housing or housing affordability and Title 8, I believe it is, for Section 8, yeah, thank you. And so that's one distinction that I think needs to be in the comments when we draft whatever we're drafting, that we're not against the sense of affordable housing, but when you lump it all together, the public doesn't have a clear understanding of the distinction.
No, you're right.
So the other thing that I would like to let you know is I did read the bill, and if anybody wants to take a look at it, look at the last part of it, because the first part of it is very legalese, it's very go to section here, section there, it's really annoying to have to read. And I didn't go to each of the sections, but I did read the first part of it. The second part of it is put into regular language. And so if you want a clearer understanding of the bill more easily, just go to the last part of the bill. The thing that I was not clear on is whether the bill that was passed in the Senate had any amendments to it from what passed in the House. And I would love to know, I'd love to have that clarified by somebody. Thank you.
Anybody else for tonight? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you all for coming.